Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 3rd Jan 2017. The news items which we have picked up from the Hindu are these 10. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, Supreme Court blows out top BCCI bosses. So we have been following this for quite some time now. Supreme Court had appointed Lodha panel, a committee headed by a former Supreme Court judge, Justice R.M. Lodha. So this Lodha committee had recommended a list of recommendations for functioning of the BCCI. The prominent ones you can see are listed down here, like politicians, officials will not hold posts in the BCCI. There's an age cap of 70 years, post which no official should not be more than 70 years of age. Each state can have only one official cricket association. There will be an ombudsman, a grievance redressal system where complaints of corruption or malpractices can be brought in. So these ombudsmen would be appointed to oversee the functioning of BCCI. Also betting would be legalized. Some other such recommendations were also set up, provided by this Lodha committee. So this Lodha committee's recommendations have been accepted by the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has asked BCCI to implement them. But the BCCI has been dilly-dallying on this. The present BCCI chair, he is a BJP member of parliament too. So he is a politician. So politician cannot be a member of BCCI. So anyway, under the recommendations of Lodha committee, he has to step down. Plus also the Lodha committee later recommended the present panel, the BCCI office bearers, presently are obstructing in the smooth implementation of its recommendations. So the Lodha committee recommended to the Supreme Court that the present office bearers should step down and a new body should be established. A new set of office bearers should come in to help or to facilitate implementation of the recommendations. So the Lodha committee is overseeing that as well. So this is the point, and BCCI under President Anurag Thakur even approached ICC, International Cricket Council, whose head is also a former BCCI president, Shashank Manohar. So he approached ICC requesting it to provide a letter, issue a letter saying that this appointment of Lodha committee, a judge, a former CJI has been appointed, a judge by the Supreme Court, to look into the affairs of BCCI, and its recommendations have to be implemented. So the BCCI wanted ICC, the International Cricket Council, to give a letter saying that this is government interference, because cricket councils should be autonomous. So there should be no government interference. So it wanted it to put forth such a letter so that it can avert implementation of Lodha recommendations. So such actions had also been taken, initiatives had been taken, on which again the Supreme Court had come down strongly. It stated it had started a case of criminal contempt because willful disobedience of the order of the Supreme Court has been done by the President Anurag Thakur, plus also a case of perjury. Perjury means giving false statements under oath in the court. So this perjury case has also been put against the BCCI President Anurag Thakur, because he earlier stated that he had not asked the ICC, International Cricket Council, to give such a letter. It was only asking for suggestion, but the ICC chief Shashank Manohar made it clear that it was a clear request for providing such a letter. So again, that case of perjury also is framed against him. So we'll have to wait and watch what happens further on this. Presently, the news is that the Supreme Court has asked BCCI President Anurag Thakur and the BCCI Secretary Ajay Shirke to step down. They will no longer be holding these posts of BCCI President and Secretary respectively. So this is the latest development. So the Supreme Court has also mentioned regarding the earlier such initiative taken when Supreme Court has appointed a retired cricketer. Sunil Gavaskar was appointed as interim BCCI president in 2014 when the IPL case was put forth before the Supreme Court. So at that time, the then BCCI president N. Srinivasan was said to be incapable of performing his duties because of the entire controversy. So that is why the Supreme Court had taken such a step earlier too. Presently, in this case also, the Supreme Court has set up a panel. So this is the senior advocate Fali Nariman and amicus curiae. Amicus curiae is the friend to the court that way. So senior amicus curiae and senior advocate Gopal Subramaniam. These will choose persons of experience and integrity to be part of the committee of administrators, and this committee will be looking into the BCCI functioning. In the meantime, till this committee is set up, the vice president, senior most vice president of BCCI will take over as the BCCI president. So such steps have been taken presently. The Supreme Court has come in strongly and has decided to take BCCI reforms in its own hands. So this is the case. Then the next news item is seeking votes on religious basis a corrupt act, Supreme Court. So this is regarding section 123(3) of the Representation of Peoples Act of 1951. So under this provision, what is corrupt practice is detailed out, and this subsection 3 specifically mentions that if a candidate or his agent or any other person with his consent appeals for votes on religion, region, caste, language, then it is a corrupt practice. So this is what section 123(3) says. What the case is before the Supreme Court right now is that whether this his, how far is this his to be interpreted. Means his means his agent means who, he himself, his rivals, anybody appointed by him, or anybody as such. So nobody should use religion as a ground. So here the Supreme Court has interpreted that his includes everything. It is a concept which has to be put forth clearly, that there is a blanket ban on referring to religion or such grounds for gaining votes. So this appeals for votes cannot make any reference to religion as such. So this has been the majority view of the Supreme Court. It was a 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court looking into the matter, and with majority judgment, means 4 judges saying yes and 3 judges not agreeing with this judgment, they have passed this ruling that there is a blanket ban on referring to religion for appeal to votes. So this actually, the dissenting judge, Mr. Justice Chandrachud, he said that discriminations and deprivations suffered by the masses on grounds of religion, caste and language, they are social realities and need to be addressed. So the religion, caste and language are symbols of social discrimination imposed on large segments of the society. So according to him, democratic polity is about social mobilization. So there would be reference to such aspects. So on theory, though it sounds true and correct, but in practice we know how religion and region, caste is used by politicians to initiate or to increase hatred and enmity between communities. So fanning enmity is what these practices do. So this judgment has upheld that no, there should be no reference to religion in appeals to votes. It's corrupt practice under Representation of Peoples Act. Then the next news item is hotel service charge optional, says government. So there's a service charge. This is not service tax. This is a service charge which is imposed by hotels, restaurants on consumers. So this service charge is optional because there was a petition, a complaint which had come forth to the Consumer Affairs Department, and in this the complainant said that this Consumer Protection Act of 1986 provides for fair trade practices, and this is an unfair trade practice because service charge cannot be imposed mandatorily. So even the Hotels Association of India has clarified, and even Consumer Affairs Department of the Ministry has clarified that service charge is optional and voluntary. If the consumer is not satisfied with the services of the hotel or the restaurant, he can refuse to pay this service charge. So this is the leads in development. Then the next news item is NGT stays metro rail work on riverbed in Pune. So NGT is National Green Tribunal. So the Western Zone bench of National Green Tribunal has put an interim stay, means for the time being a stay, hold on a portion of the metro rail route, part of the Pune metro rail. So this is passing through the Mulamutha riverbed. So this Mulamutha river would be drastically affected because of this, and the Pune prominent Pune citizens had initiated an EIL. So we have heard of PIL. Now this is EIL. So environmental interest litigation. So PIL is public interest litigation. So this is in favor of environment. So environmental interest litigation, EIL, has been filed with the National Green Tribunal in May 2016, and based on this EIL, NGT has put an interim stay on this part of the metro project. Then the next news item is Center stalling judicial transfers, Supreme Court. So Supreme Court and the judiciary and the executive have been having a tussle on judicial appointments. You must be knowing by now about the NJSC, National Judicial Appointments Commission. A complete bill, an act, NJSC Act was passed by the center. Even a constitutional amendment was passed by the center through the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and even taking assent of at least half the state legislatures. And this Constitutional Amendment Act has also been struck down. NJSC Act has been struck down by the judiciary, saying that judicial appointments cannot have equal say of executive and judiciary. Judicial prominence is essential to maintain autonomy or independence of the judiciary. So on those grounds, NJSC was rejected. However, the judiciary then had acknowledged that there is a need to modify the collegium system, which is used for appointments and transfers of judges. So, and suppose that MOP, Memorandum of Procedure, has been initiated, that the government puts forth a memorandum of procedure about how judicial appointments should take place, and the Supreme Court will also look into it. It will give its suggestions, and they come to consensus and put forth a way in which judicial appointments take place. So MOP finalization process is also long drawn, and no conclusion has come forth on that too. Plus the collegium system, which the Supreme Court has reverted back to, that is not liked by the center, and the Supreme Court keeps on accusing the center of delaying judicial appointments and transfers, because whatever collegium recommendations go to the center, to the government, central government, its Supreme Court alleges that they are halted or delayed. There are delaying tactics being used, and the Supreme Court is coming to a grinding halt. So not just the Supreme Court but even High Courts, because appointments of all Supreme Court as well as High Court judges, even transfer of judges, takes place through the collegium system. So judges recommend and the center has to approve it. So that's the whole thing all about. So presently, though, the Attorney General of India, Mr. Mukul Rohatgi, who represents the center, the central government in the judiciary, he has said that there is no file pending before the government on transfers, but it is the judiciary, the state high court itself, which is delaying the appointments and the transfers, and these vacancies are accumulating. So that's what is going on. Charges and counter allegations are being made. We have seen this quite often, so we'll hear more about it too. So we have to keep discussing them. So this one particular case which was there was of Justice M.R. Shah of Gujarat High Court, whose transfer to Madhya Pradesh High Court was pending since February 2016. So the Supreme Court is demanding that why this transfer is not being put into effect, why such a delay of almost a year. So that's all such issues are cropping presently. Then the next news item is Agni-4 test a grand success. So Agni-4 is a two-stage surface-to-surface missile which can carry nuclear warhead weighing 1 ton and can travel up to a distance of more than 4,000 kilometers. Presently, the test was for 3,100 kilometers. So Agni-4 has undergone tests earlier too. This was the 6th successful test so far, and Agni-4 has already been deployed by the Indian Army as well. So this is the missile which was launched presently from the road mobile launcher from Abdul Kalam Island of Orissa coast. So this was earlier known as Wheeler Island. It has been renamed Abdul Kalam Island. So this Agni-4 missile has been conceived, designed and developed by DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization, but its functioning or its use is in the hands of Strategic Forces Command, SFC. So this Strategic Forces Command conducted this test as well. So this is the news. Agni-5 we have already seen. Agni-5 is an ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile, with a much higher range. It can travel a distance of more than 5,000 kilometers, and it can carry nuclear warhead weighing 1.5 tons. So this has also been successfully test fired just few days back, and now Agni-4 has also undergone another successful test. So this is the news. Then the next news item is Jharkhand mines tragedy was waiting to happen. So the Rajmahal open cast mine in Jharkhand, in which the overburden collapsed and it resulted in the debris covering over the men and the machinery up there, and 18 men lost their lives. This could have been averted. This disaster could have been averted because exactly a year ago in December 2015, an alert civilian there had filed a complaint with the Prime Minister's office Ashutosh Chakravarti, he had filed a complaint here saying that the safety norms are not being properly followed and there is a disaster awaiting in Rajmahal open cast mines. So this had been forwarded to the Director General of Mine Safety too, but then at that time the Director General of Mine Safety dismissed this, saying that these are incorrect and false claims being made. If a proper investigation would have undertaken in that matter, then such a disaster, which happened exactly a year later, could have been averted. So this Mr. Anurag Chakravarti, Ashutosh Chakravarti then had also provided photographs showing how the safety norms are not being followed and the overburden from the decoaled mines areas, the areas which have been decoaled, the overburden is dumped over there, and it has become so huge that there is all possibility that it can result into a disaster. But this was overlooked. Then the next news item is Pravasi Bharatiya Divas this year to highlight social innovations. So Pravasi Bharatiya Divas is celebrated every year. Pravasi Bharatiya means traveling Indian. So this is basically for felicitating NRIs and also to facilitate them coming together for the development of the nation, their roots, India. So this Pravasi Bharatiya Samman awards are also provided. Plus from this year onwards, the Pravasi Bharatiya format has changed. In 2017, now it is held from 7 to 9 Jan 2017. So 2-3 day event. Presently for 2017, it will be held in Bangalore. And the Pravasi Bharatiya days, these days coincide with the dates when the ultimate Pravasi, it is said, the foremost Pravasi Bharatiya, that is Mahatma Gandhi, he came back from South Africa to India. So that Pravasi, that is called Pravasi Bharatiya. So that is the great Pravasi Bharatiya. So in memory of that, it is held in start of January. That was the time when Mahatma Gandhi came back to India from South Africa. So this Pravasi Bharatiya Samman awards are also there, and the new format which is there presently is to have the entire session more interactive, more participation. The delegates, these overseas citizens, can directly put forth their suggestions before the government. Also there is a contest which will be held because it is to emphasize on social innovation. So contest for social innovators would be there, and the winners will get an award of ₹1 lakh. So this has also been announced. So this will happen presently. So again, of course, it will come in news. Also, this year's Pravasi Bharatiya is looked forward to because it was at one point indicated that even the POK residents would be included under this Pravasi Bharatiya. So we'll have to wait and watch whether the delegates from POK would be part of this or not. The next news item is SBI raises spread on home loans, cuts loan growth target. So yesterday on 2nd Jan, we saw that SBI had reduced by around 90 basis points its MCLR. That is marginal cost of funding lending, base lending rate. So this MCLR has replaced base rate. We saw that because it is only the marginal cost addition based on which the funding has to be, lending rate has to be decided. So clearer understanding for that too, you can see why the RBI did this, because in December 2015, RBI decided that the base rate which is used for determining the lending rates by the banks would be replaced by MCLR, marginal cost of funding lending rate. So this is why it was done in December 2015, that the repo rate. So repo rate is determined by RBI, the rate at which RBI provides loans to banks. So if repo rate is reduced, means the rate, interest rate paid by banks to RBI is low. So when repo rate is reduced, RBI wants that the banks should also pass forward this reduced interest rates to their customers, to the loans which they provide to customers. So this was not coming forthwith. So for that, the RBI did this. So means an example, if 25 basis points reduction is done in repo rate by RBI, then the deposit rates are also, because deposit rates and lending rates are two rates. Deposit rates are the ones, means if you are having a deposit at the bank, then banks have to pay interest to you, to the customers. So that paying of interest, deposit rates, it will show simultaneous cut. So if repo rate has reduced, here also the interest rate would be reduced. But in lending rate, the rates reduction does not come easily by the banks. So to make sure that this happens, the marginal cost aspect is put forth. means not the average cost of funds, the entire cost, but presently the variation, with the latest variation which has taken place. Marginal is about that one last addition which is done. What is the additional cost for that? So based on that aspect only, means based on the recent change only, you look into the marginal cost, and based on that the lending rate has also to be decided. So this has been mandated by RBI now, and it is for a year, fixed for a year. But then there is a catch too, because MCLR is fixed, but MCLR is not the only thing which will determine the interest rate. There's something called spread, because earlier too it was base rate plus spread which would decide the interest rate. So now MCLR based lending rate plus spread which will decide the interest rate. So that is why the final interest rate coming forth may not be directly the same as has been decided. So this news today is regarding that SBI raises spread on home loans, cuts loan growth target. So loan growth target is what it expected loans, how much would they grow. That target has been cut, but the spread has been raised. So that is important, because earlier the spread was of 25 basis points. Now it has increased it to 50 basis points. So this, in some cases in floating home loan rates, it would be 65 basis points. Floating loans means the interest rates also vary. So this variations in interest rates, there is something with respect to that which is called teaser loans. So our SBI has declined that this floating home loans are not teaser loans, because here the loan spread of the loan will remain unchanged. So spread is there on the loan, but that remains unchanged. So in teaser loans, actually the interest rates vary. We'll see below what is a teaser loan also. So it says this, the spread of the loan will remain unchanged when the loan switches to floating rate. So this, how the interest rates would be, the spread would be different for different categories. So this has been put forth by the SBI right now. So interest rates coming down would not be same at exactly 90 basis points, but then the spread will also be added to it. So based on varying types of customers and varying types of products, loan products which they are taking up, the interest rates would vary, even for home loans as such. So now looking at what are these teaser loans. So teaser loan is a loan in which the borrower pays very low initial interest rate. So interest rates initially are very low, and over the years it keeps on increasing. So later it increases. So it attracts people to take up such loans. So the artificially low interest rates may become unviable too, but the banks claim that they can be refinanced later. So this increase later can be refinanced. The small payments allow it to start activity. So this is a term which is used for them, teaser loans. Then the next aspect which is mentioned in this article is regarding the SBI and its associated banks merger. So this merger was expected to be completed in the last quarter of this financial year 2016-17, but now it is said that it will take place in the first quarter of the next financial year. Means from 1st April, or if it is sooner, the financial year starts sooner, because there is all adjustments which need to be made. So that's why SBI said it's better to start on a fresh note in a fresh financial year. So this SBI merger with its associated banks, this is what is on agenda, that 5 associate banks would be merged with SBI. Also Bharatiya Mahila Bank, which was a new bank created, that would also be merged with SBI. So SBI's entire asset base would increase. It will create a 37 lakh crore banking system. So that would be with over 500 crore customers. So this is what SBI is going to look ahead to. So this is regarding the SBI merger. So you can see. Then the next news item, the last one, is core sector output growth slows to 4.9% in November. So this we see every month. So in this December, start of Jan, we are looking at November data. Earlier we have looked at every month it comes out that the IIP, Index of Industrial Production, has these 8 core industries under it. So these 8 core industries have a major role, and in this also the maximum weight is for electricity. So what are these 8 core industries? You should know. That is more important. Every month what are the variations are not important, but remembering them, and this last second statement actually is much more important. That is what we need to know, that 8 core industries comprise close to 37.9% of the weight of items in IIP, included in IIP, and electricity has the maximum weight, that is 10.32% amongst these 8 core industries. So amongst 8 core, electricity has maximum weightage. So this again a restating the whole thing because we have discussed this earlier quite often too, because twice or thrice questions have been asked on 8 core industries and their weightage and such aspects in UPSC. So that is it for today. Thank you so much.